So I focus on the and, because many people come to me with marriages with no communication. It's like having two slices of bread rubbing each other. Sorry, I have a weird sense of humor, but basically when you add an and, you've got something brand new: a marriage, a relationship, a wedding, a family, and a business, because the same thing. If you have people working side by side that don't communicate, your business is in trouble.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm your host Rexhen, and today's guest is Paul Zohav, a marriage and communication coach with over 30 years of experience helping individuals, couples, and families enjoy connected, resilient, loving relationships. With a master's in counseling education from University of Virginia, Paul blends academic insight with real-world empathy to guide clients through conflict resolution, mindful communication, and emotional growth. Through his coaching practice, Marriage and Communication, and his book, Marriage and Communication: Recipes for Life, Paul empowers people to shift from reactivity to responsibility and from miscommunication to mutual honor and respect, whether at home or in the workplace. And it's a pleasure for me to have him on the podcast today. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too, Paul, and thank you for taking the time to come into our podcast. It's a pleasure for us to have you on. I wanted to learn a little bit more about how you got started, like what inspired you to become a coach and then start your own coaching business.
Well, with a brand new degree in counseling and education from the University of Virginia, I began working with domestic violence perpetrators, males, and teach them how to have marriages that would keep them out of a domestic violence class. And I realized after about a year or two, I'd much rather prevent it than treat it after the damage has been done. And I embarked on a journey looking for what, if present, would make the difference for the future of families everywhere. And in the process, becoming a chaplain for hospitals and hospice. And some 12 years ago, we moved to Tucson, Arizona, and I invented marriage and communication coaching, which has terrific SEO, by the way. And I see couples. 5 sessions, they have what they need to make it to their 50th wedding anniversary.
Nice. So when it comes to you working with these couples and helping them, which part, on going through your coaching journey, which part of your coaching journey do you find the most rewarding since you started doing this?
It's, stay with me. I love the and. Why do I say that? When you have 2 slices of bread, you don't have a sandwich until you put peanut butter and jelly in the middle. You can have a couple, they're not a couple until you say, and. You're not a marriage until you say, I do. And when you add children, you're a family. So I focus on the and, because many people come to me with marriages with no communication. It's like having 2 slices of bread rubbing each other. Sorry, I have a weird sense of humor, but basically when you add an and, you've got something brand new: a marriage, a relationship, a wedding, a family, and a business, because the same thing. If you have people working side by side that don't communicate, your business is in trouble. So that's a long answer to a short question. I love doing the and. People come to me with separate, and they walk out the door as a sandwich.
Nice analogy. So when it comes to these couples, is there any certain kind of like ideal client profile that you typically find yourself working with, or it's not really a category on it? It's just any type of couple that is having issues in their relationship, you can work with them?
Well, by saying I coach couples, it's a little bit misleading, because couples find themselves at a crossroads all over the course of their relationship. Premarital, I love premarital coaching. Brand new couples who now have to figure out a life together, moving in together. And then when they have children, they get to balance career, families, and children. And each one of these is a crossroads. And then when their children grow up and move out, well, they now have 30 years or more left to live. And then they can say, what's next? And there's a crossroads of infidelity and cheating. It happens. I may talk about this given the opportunity later, but we've never learned how to communicate in schools. There is no curriculum for living in schools, at least in this country. I hear rumors in some places they do. So we graduate our children into the work world without the tools to get along with the people sitting next to them, communicating with their clients, patients, and customers. And often it is the case that our parents are less than optimal. My parents were great, but their models are from the 1930s. So here are 100 years later, and the world has changed. We no longer marginalize our spouses and smoke a lot. So I meet couples at any crossroads they run into. And it could be they're now my age, 70, 60 years old, and they've answered the questions of money and finances and careers and family. They have at least workable answers, but they have another 20 years to live, more sometimes. And how much golf can you play? How many times are you going to go to the gym and work out? You have wisdom. You've got experience. You know how the world works. So what are you going to do for the next 20 or 30 years, so long as God lets us? So I see couples or mature senior couples who are looking to fill in the next 20 years of their lives, God willing. I mean, Erik Erikson wrote a book, Childhood and Society, which I recommend. The last stage of life is ego, integrity versus despair. That's your job. You see your life as a donut or a hole, as a road or full of potholes. And as a community chaplain, I would visit retirement communities and nursing homes and meet people who are like, my life was a waste kind of people. And that's not ego integrity, that's despair. So every stage of development has its different challenges. And I will meet couples anywhere in whatever crossroads they find themselves.
And right now, how does, like, for anyone's listening, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of interest, how does the engagement with you look like? Is there a certain program of a certain length? How are you engaging with your clients?
5 sessions, mostly an hour and a half. The first session is 2 hours, sometimes more if there's urgency and upset. But in that first 2 hours, we lay a foundation for a dashboard for life, skills and insights and best practices that when you've installed them and uploaded them, you have what you need to make it in any conversation from home to work. Same skills, slightly different context.
Mm-hmm. And so it's 5 sessions over the course of, would you say, a few months?
About 2 weeks apart. Sometimes it's 3 weeks because they're out of town or they're being deployed. There are a lot of military bases around here. So It's really about 2 months. Approximately in 2 months, you'll completely reboot your relationship with skills that you didn't know that you didn't know. That's right. When you know them, for instance, love languages, you learn how to love them and they learn how to love you. Problem solved. I could say more about that, but your question.
Sorry for interrupting, but I meant to ask, when it comes to you finding these couples, is there a certain marketing channel that you find working very well for you? Where do people find you?
Pain. They get to a crossroads in their marriage, and one of them spots it first and says, we need to get coaching. And the second one says, no, we don't need it. We'll make it through. We'll work it out. So that takes extra time. But eventually, unworkability expands. So even the most resistant couple member can see, you're right. Because if we don't get help, we get a divorce. And that's usually what has them pick up the phone and call me. Or they search online for marriage counseling, marriage coaching, and I take up about half of Google pages. But really, it's a process. People don't know how to communicate. They've never learned how. And they've sometimes spent 50 years together. I swear to you, I've had couples come to me that have been married for 50 years, and they still haven't got the tools they need. And in those 5 sessions, we create a brand new world.
And what are, for anyone who's listening, what are some of the most common issues that couples face while they're on a marriage?
Well, one part of the program is understanding that people have different personalities, which you already know that. But some people are analytical people. They've lived their life cognitively, intellectually, and logically. If you ever watch Big Bang Theory on TV, that's Sheldon. You notice that in that list is not his emotions. He does not prioritize or pay a lot of weight to his emotions as he's analyzing, figuring out, planning, and executing. And those folks, I'm minorly one of them, tend to marry people who are feelers. They feel first. They respond to their life with how they feel about that. And we tend to marry each other. Not always. But, so if a thinker logically tends to argue their partner out of feeling that way, why are you so upset? I didn't mean that way. Maybe I said it wrong, but I didn't mean that. Why are we spending so much time on this? So would a thinker say. But the feeler says, it sounds like you don't care about me or my feelings. So when they learn just as one element of four, you honor my wife's feelings. I don't argue with them. It leaves them feeling disrespected, disregarded, unheard, and the relationship sinks. That's just one of four by chance in this. Let's go through the other. Some people are highly organized. If they don't know much they can up ahead, they are unhappy. Uncertainty is their enemy. And then there's some people, like me, go with the flow, out of sight, out of mind, change your mind on a dime. But that can frustrate the heck out of a judger, spouse, letter J, because they want to know, where are we going? I said, let's go someplace. That's not good enough for them. They want to know destination. Shoes, no shoes. Hat, no hat. Sunscreen, sunscreen. Can we take the dog with us? Is there a patio we can eat lunch together? The more my spouse knows, the happier she is to say yes to me. And this personality type is everywhere. I mean, even if you're working as a team at at a corporation, if you're a manager, you get to be responsible for not only what you say, but who's listening and how they listen. Make sense? So if they're a feeler, you say, it was an exciting program. We're going to install this wonderful future for our company. If it's a thinker, you say, this is going to take 6 months to imply. These are the steps. These are the people we're going to need, the resources we're going to have, because that's the information they're listening for. So you get to be responsible for not only what you say, but who's listening. It's very important because, well, I've experienced over and over again. And some people are extroverts. They get energy from being with people. And they have a lot of friends. I'm an introvert. I'm more or less self-organized. And so I know thousands of people, but I really don't, I self-cause. I stay in my house most of the time. Luckily, I'm married to a social person, so she gets me out. But someone came here who was a 99% extrovert. He sings in a rock band. Someone came here, she was a 99% introvert. Books, cat, music, internet, cable, garden. She can amuse herself all day long by herself, kind of like me. So we get to be responsible for that. That basically, it's not upsetting that your spouse wants to go out and play with their friends rather than spend time with you because you're happy by yourselves. So that's just one aspect. There's more things I could say about that, but we have somewhat limited time.
Cool. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And these are some of the reasons why there's issues. What would you say is a reason, like maybe 3 or 4 most common reasons for divorce?
Well, they get so frustrated and upset and angry with so much unresolved issues from the past that their cup runneth over and they runneth out. If I advise them to come to me before that happens, but in the absence of skills, insights, and best practices, they're likely doomed. They just don't know what they don't know. Our society does a terrible job of preparing us for marriage.
And so, yeah, that makes sense. I was just thinking, like, in terms of, is it money? Is it kids? Is it career? Could it be like, what are some of the things that kind of like most commonly cause the divorce? But
those kids, money, finances, and career are symptoms. They're not causes. So I deal with the place we play is cause, and it's communication skills, self-awareness. Being aware, for instance, that you have leftover distortions from childhood. And you're a 5-year-old with about a 6,000 word vocabulary, and something happened, and you had an interpretation of that. And so you're sure, well, I'm not good enough. I am bad at math. I am clumsy. No one cares about me. That's fine. And that runs unawarely beneath the surface of your life until you distinguish it and override it. In one couple, she learned that she was not good enough. She married someone who knew they had to be aware of the emotional needs of the people around him, and they said, I do, when they got married. It's a little bit humorous when you think about it, but so they're not, sometimes the marriages of two 12-year-olds duking it out, 30-year-old bodies. It's really, forgive me for smiling and laughing, but the absurdity is enormous. So you want to upgrade your life to adult with the skills of an adult, and then life happens. Know who you're dancing with. Don't step on toes.
Absolutely. So communication is the most, like if you figure out the communication between the couple, the dangers of like issues or divorce kind of like dramatically decrease as long as there's like
Dramatically. An example, the first example in the recipe in my book, which currently says, start your sentences with yes. This is magical. They come to you and you go, yes, I'm listening, which is a gift all by itself. They say, yes, I'm listening. When's a good time to talk? Yes, I'm listening. I want to hear everything you have to say. Let's pick a time to talk. Yes, how would this affect our summer plans? So you can avoid most of your disputes just by starting your sentence with yes. How about breakfast? Yes. How about scrambled eggs? Yes. If you're a real estate agent and and your clients want $100,000 house in $1 million neighborhood, you say, yes, let's look at all the options. You'll know what's good for you. Sell a car. Say sales. This is basically when you're sales, you want to establish connection and rapport. They know you're listening. You understand their point of view. And you say, it's easy saying, yes. The spouse comes up, we have to talk about this, but you haven't thought about this. We say, yes, give me about a couple hours. I'll be able to talk about that. Or you come home tired and sweaty, and they're ready to talk to you. And you go, yes, give me 20 minutes to change and shower. I'll be right back. It all starts with yes. And the last thing I'll mention is that it's a good first aid for anger. Not a cure, first aid. And if someone says to you, you're a total asshole, you can bleep that out if you need to. But instead of explaining or defending yourself, but they're not listening, so it's kind of a waste of time. You say, yes, I hear you. I'll make a cup of coffee and I'll listen to all the things you have to say. For ordinary anger, frustration, irritation can be fixed by the yes. That's a very short version of a long question, but if people were listening to this, just start your sentences with yes. You avoid all kinds of mischief when you do that.
So thank you for sharing all of that. I feel like, there's a lot of power in just thinking with yes and like the power of like communicating with yes. Now, in terms of like your coaching business, do you have any goals that you want to reach? Just talking about the next 1 to 3 years, potentially.
Well, the first half an hour of the very first session is installing these basic tools of communication, like yes, and the word and. I could go on for this, by the way. And opens up the future. It connects peanut butter and jelly, dogs and cats, and brothers and sisters, but it's never been thought about before. You can and yourself out of depression. I'm feeling depressed today. And the rising inflection. I don't like the way this is going. And feel the and. The and opens up a brand new future that has never been said or done before. All no's from now on go with an and. Because a no can break you up. A no with an and connects you into the next. And. The power of yes and. Those are the three. I want the name of the curriculum I want for high schools. We tend to speak as if everything I'm saying is the truth. I'm doing it right now. I know in your mind you're going good or bad, right or wrong, agree or disagree. Automatically. To seek to validate what I'm saying for it's, well, good, bad, right, wrong, agree or disagree. And if I say something that doesn't quite match what you expect, we'll stop communicating, stop listening, and arguing about whose truth is truer, whose reality is most real, who's right and who's wrong. To get out of that truth trap, you want to go, seems to me we bring up the past a lot. Seems to me we've never talked about this. Seems to me we tend to argue about this. So a seems will get you a discussion, where a truth will get you an argument. Seems. It indicates that it's an interpretation, not the truth. We can discuss interpretations. Seems. Yes, and it seems to me that we tend to. That's a great beginning to communication. Whatever you talk about, it does not matter. Start that way.
Right now, while you're working with your clients, what would you say is a challenge? Like what is kind of like the biggest challenge that you generally face?
Well, often a couple comes, only one of them really wants to be there. They're coming out of obligation because, well, okay, I'll say yes. And won't. So sometimes they come with different levels of commitment, shall we say. And sometimes it happens they've already kind of figured out they want to split up, but they're on the kind of last resort. So to get them re-engaged and enrolled in their own marriage sometimes is a challenge. And by the way, I don't accept narcissists. I toss them out, And one couple, he wanted her to agree with him, and he thought I would be able to coach her into agreeing with him. And when it became clear that that was not going to happen, he left. So the answer is different levels of commitment and engagement, at least in the first session. By the end of the first session, they know whether they're coming back or not. They come to me because they have to, and they come back because they get to. That's my job.
Cool. And yeah, I totally understand that. And when it comes to for everyone who's listening, what advice would you give to these couples that are looking to prolong their relationship as far as they can? Not that they feel like there's any risk right now, but just to play it safe. I feel like communication is a big part of it, but is there anything else besides communication?
Well, it starts with communication. Yes, and seems. Having a life of given by opportunity rather than a life given by obligation. Then it's understanding the mechanics of feeling loved. How to love my spouse. She learns how to love me, and we dance. Infidelity, by the way, shows up with a mismatch. They think they're loving you because they work so hard. Can't say much. I, support the family, but they're waiting to be appreciated and supported. Love languages. Personality differences. If you're married to a thinker or a feeler, it's important to know. And then there's the distortions left over from childhood. Things you made up to be true in an early relationship with your family or perhaps a previous marriage that you coped with. And those behaviors are still showing up in your brand new marriage. And so when you put all these skills, insights, best practices, mutual awareness, you're set to navigate any storm.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming to the podcast. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. For anyone who wants to connect with you or reach out to you, they can go into LinkedIn, Paul Zohav. They'll be able to find you there, Paul Zohav.
Or online, marriageandcommunication.com.
And also on the website, marriageandcommunication.com. You'll also find Paul's email if you go into his LinkedIn, so you can contact him that way as well. But yeah, let me know, Paul, if there's any other way they could reach out to you.
Whatever they need, I'm a yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you for your time, and you have a great day ahead.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.